So when we start understanding the nature of perception, we can start looking at, for example, in any given moment, we're exposed to billions of bits of data. Okay, so as Aldous Huxley referred to it, the reduction valve. We have mechanisms that allow us to navigate this reality. Otherwise, we would just be in sort of a real-time psychedelic experience all the time because it's just so much data overload. And that's what psychedelics actually do. They help us open up the reduction valves so we do receive more information. And that's why psychedelic experiences can sometimes be a little overwhelming. But in normal waking consciousness, the thing is that we're exposed to so much data, so like 4 billion bits by some accounts, but we only process about 2,000 bits of data. Now, this gets really interesting when we start asking ourselves, well, what are we paying attention to? And so there are a few categories that we can look at. We pay attention to salient things in our environment that help us survive. So, big red flashing light, we're going to pay attention to that. Our salience network picks that up. Barking dog, things that threaten our survival, that's sort of the top of the list. The second category is our past experience influences our present experience. So we create these deep patterns of somebody saying, okay, you were talking about programming, so when we're raised as children, whatever household we were raised in and whatever our parents said, this is important, pay attention to this. That creates deep hardwiring in our neurological systems, and we basically see what we believe. So we learn by association. It's easier for me. So let's say my parents gave me the belief that money is hard to come by. That was programmed in me the first 7 years of my life, which that wasn't a belief for me personally, but I know for a lot of people it is. So I'll use that as
comes up a lot with my clients.
Yeah, so it's easier for the brain to seek out information. So it will hone in on those 2,000 bits of data to confirm what we already believe to be true rather than look for new information. So when we start to understand that this is me saying, Gabby, look at the glass wall from a 45-degree angle so that you can see the light glint off of it. It's really effective. We learn through metaphors and analogies. So if I train people to say, this is how perception works, start paying attention to the patterns. We're developing metacognition here. We're developing a greater sense of awareness. We're starting to enhance pattern recognition, which first of all is an effect of psychedelic experiences, heightened pattern recognition, hyperassociation.
That's amazing.
And also, it's a part of creativity. Creativity is recognizing patterns in our environment. So if we start to say, oh, I keep out of all of the bits of information. So it's like we're in this field of unlimited possibility, but yet I repeatedly focus in on that one thing. And of course, the negative, what we know in psychology as the negativity bias, of course, we're going to pay attention to the things that aren't going good, that aren't working, all the ways that we are having the challenges and problems in our life, because that's just our survival-based mechanisms at play. And so when we start to understand that, we start leveraging tools. Then we start leveraging those tools and we combine it with microdosing, with meditation practice, with ways that we can really enhance our self-awareness. And this is the foundation. It's the foundation of all the programs that I teach. And it's also the foundation of all the work that I do with leaders and executives. And it's incredibly effective. So we have to understand the base underlying neural mechanisms. And when I start talking about the neuroscience of perception, I can tell you it is an incredibly deep rabbit hole to go down. But it's so exciting, you guys. Like, it's go down that rabbit hole if you find someone or work with Laura, because it is so worth it. It's scary, but it's pretty powerful. Right. And the key I'll just leave your listeners with this, and it's so profound and so simple, and it's been years and years of my life of really processing what this really means. But when we look at different models, like for example, Robin Carhart-Harris is sort of like very famous in the psychedelic research space. He came up with the Rebus model that lends a credible theory for what's happening with the psychedelic experience. And the Rebus model means relaxed beliefs under psychedelics. So we have these experiences where the rigidity of what we believed to be true is relaxed. And based on the current conventional wisdom of models of consciousness, because, as smart as we are, we actually don't have this is how consciousness actually works. We just have theories. And one of the main theories is the Bayesian model of the brain and predictive coding. And that essentially says that we see what we believe based on past experience. So that's how the mind is constantly just making assumptions about reality. And when and so we're always sort of jumping to conclusions about what we believe to be true and looking for the information that confirms those beliefs. So it's like a great metaphor that I think people can really grasp very easily are those little boxes that children play with that have the cutouts. So we are taking our environment and we're saying, oh, that's a cube. I'm going to, out of all the other options of shapes that I can reach for, I'm going to pick up the cube and put it in the cube box because the cube square is what my belief is about limitation. And so I'm just going to keep feeding that. And by seeking out in the environment, oh, boom, there's a cube. That's what's real. I'm going to fit it into my, associative understanding of reality. And so this notion that we see what we believe is actually remarkable when you really start to contemplate it. So we need to reverse engineer the situation. We need to start finding ways to rewrite our limiting beliefs. And psychedelics, I believe from my personal experience and from what the literature says, it offers us these windows of shaking up the neural snow globe of those superhighways. A belief is actually just neural superhighway in the mind. So but it's not enough. We need to leverage that time with education, with training, with community, with dialogue, with implementing what we're learning, with embodying what we're learning. So it's really a holistic framework in terms of the work that I'm doing with people.
Thanks for watching, you guys. If you enjoyed this, click here to check out the full podcast episode. Click here to check out our full library of podcast episodes. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you can be the first to know when we're posting new ones. I'll see you soon.